Good afternoon, folks. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to complete this logo question here, which is the EMI Music Publishing logo. Okay, so we'll just have a quick read of the question. EMI Music Publishing is a multinational music publishing company. Its logo is based on horizontal, vertical and inclined lines. Reproduce the logo to the dimensions given. Okay, so we can see some of the inclined lines here are this one, and then we've got one here and here. Now what's important to note is they do tell us, if I just zoom in on the logo a little bit better, they do tell us the angle that the line is at here. Okay, so there's a couple of ways you could go about it. You could use your protractor, okay, to get the angle going down at 65 degrees, or we could do something when we find this point to this point known as sliding set squares, and that's the method I'm actually going to use today instead of using the protractor. But starting off always, I'm actually going to see that the logo fits inside of actually a box, okay? And that box I'm going to create first of all. By adding up all these measurements at the bottom and these measurements at the side, okay, I can get a distance on the side for the vertical height of 80 millimeters, and then when I add up all of these at the bottom, they add up to 248. Okay, so I need to create a box that's 248 by 80. Once I have that box created, what I'm going to start off by drawing is the letter E and the letter I. Get the two easy ones out of the way, and then I'll focus on the M in the middle. Okay, so that's what I'm going to start by doing. So start off by creating the box, put in my vertical heights, put in my horizontal measurements, and then complete the E and the I. Okay, so we'll start with that there first. So once again, as always, want to pick an appropriate position. So I'm going to come up from the bottom of my page. Coming up from the bottom of the page, I'm going to pick a point about here, roughly about 110 high and 90 millimeters in from the edge of the page. And I'm going to do a line like this, and I'm going to measure a distance of 248 millimeters. Okay, so that's 24.8 centimeters. So I need to extend my line a little bit further. 24.8, right there. There's the end of the line. So with that in mind now, I'm going to do a vertical line here and a vertical line here, and then measure 80 millimeters up here. Do not need to measure it over here, because once I've been measured on one line, I can use my T-square to project the line across and just close up that little box there. So now that I have the box created, I'm going to zoom in on it a little bit better, just center it on my screen. Okay, now with that centered on the screen, I'm going to put in my measurements. I'm going to start off with my vertical measurements, and the first one is 20 millimeters. So starting with my T-square and my set square, making sure my zero is on the line, measuring 20. Next one is 12. 20 plus 12 is 32. And then the next one is 16. 32 plus 16, 42, 48 millimeters. And then the next one is 12, which brings me up to 60, which leaves me 20 left over, and that's what I have at the top. Okay, so there's all my vertical ones. Now I'm actually going to start off, just show you here in the sheet, by putting in my horizontal ones. Now to make sure you don't make a mistake, what I would do is, after I have maybe 1, 2, 3 and done, 22, 54 and 4, I would tick them off like that, just to make sure then when I look at the sheet next, I know that I'm starting with 14, 20 and 28. Okay, so maybe do 2 or 3 at a time. Okay, if you can add them up, great. If you can't, just start on the 0 every time. So the very first one I have is 22, and then the next one I have is 54, and then 54 plus 4 is 58, not 59, 58. So I got that one slightly wrong there, just make sure them again. 22, yes, 54, 58. Okay, after that then, by looking at my sheet, my next one is 14 and 20. So I got 14 plus 20 is 34. Okay, my next one is 28, 9 and 9. So 28, and then 9 and 9, so 2 9s, so 9 plus 9 is 18. Just making little marks as you can see going along. Okay, after that 9, I have 28, 20, 28 and 20, so 28 plus 20 will be 48. And then I have 16 and 24, which is 16 and 24. So there's my 16. Happy with that. Okay, So there we have it, folks. There's all our measurements put in going along. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually project up a couple of the first ones for the E. So I'm going to project this one up going upwards, this one, and this one, and then also for the I. The I is just very simple in there like that. Okay, so my E section is going to be here, my I section is going to be there. The I is very simple because it's simply just a case of this nice simple rectangle. The E then, I've projected up this line to start giving me these kind of little sections in here. I've projected up this line and this line going up there like that. So what I'm going to do now is project across my horizontal lines. And as far as I know, I think these two just straight into the middle like that. And I've actually got the E done. It's simply a case of heavying it in. So I'll heavy that in and I'll speed up the video. So there we have it, folks. There is the E completed. Okay, as long as you didn't go wrong with your measurements, okay, it should be quite easy to do. Okay, you can see there's this section in the middle is just 4 millimeters behind this section and this section here. So what we should do now is we have to complete the M. Okay, so if I just bring this over, okay, there's a gap of 14, which I have here, gap of 14 right there, and then I've kind of got this rectangular section here, and I've got this rectangular section here where there's a gap of 16 on this side. So, and I can see the gap of 16. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in those two rectangular sections. Got this one here, this guy, and this guy. So I've got those two rectangular sections here and here done, okay, which is this section here and this section here. Now what I've actually got is the two inclined portions next, okay. So the first thing to note is from this point up here, okay, if I measure in 14, I get a point right there, and likewise on the opposite side, okay. So that's what I want to do now. So I'm going to measure 14 millimeters in from the left, and I'm also going to measure back 14 millimeters from the right. So putting it on 14, measuring back to 0. So I've got a mark there and a mark there. Now, those two marks are very important because they're the ones that will actually identify to me, okay, these ones will actually identify to me where to start my incline lines here and here. Now, the next one that I can actually do is I can locate where this point is right here. And I can locate where this one is. Because if I follow from the base of the top portion of the E, at this line here, where that goes across and intersects right here, that point there connects down here to our 9mm or 28mm mark. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that by extending this line across just to there, and then I can make a mark there as well. Okay, so you can see I could have continued the line the whole way, just made a mark here and here. Now at those 2 points, I'm going to connect this one right here, put a little mark on it there, and this one, I'm going to connect them down to here and here. And what's important there is I've actually found those two lines there, which we know have an angle of 65 degrees inside in here. Okay, so if that's 65 in there, therefore this angle here is also 65 degrees. Okay, so you could have used your protractor to work that out. Now what I want to do is, having got this one and this one, I now need to find this one and this one. And what they are is, the relationship between those lines is that they are parallel to one another. Okay, usually done by something like that. Okay, they are parallel. So we're going to use a little method here known as sliding set squares to find those. Okay, with this point here in the middle, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to project the line up, long dash, short dash, long dash, short dash, because what that line is the center line. So zooming out here, I'm going to use my two set squares to help me draw sliding set squares or parallel lines. So what I do is, doesn't matter which set square you use. In this case I'm using my 45. I'm going to put the 45 degree line on the line I want to go parallel to, which is this one. Okay, so you can see this line here. I'm going to put it on it like that. And what I'm going to do is, with my 30-60 set square, I'm going to put it directly underneath it. I could also put it over here, be absolutely fine as well, like that. But in this case, I'm just going to put it underneath it. Okay, I'll just adjust the camera so you can see it there. So it's just underneath it there. And what I'm going to do now is, by holding the bottom one in place, okay, I can slide the other one, and what you can see is, anytime I slide it, I'm creating a parallel line. Okay, and I'm going to slide it down in this direction until it gets to this point right here. When it gets to that point, I will stop it. I will hold the two set squares with my with my left hand, and with my right hand do my line like that. Now that side is done. I've got a parallel line. I'm going to do the exact same on the opposite side. So put my set square on the one I want to trace or want to copy, essentially. Putting it on that line. Get my other set square 36 degrees. I'm going to put it directly below it. Doesn't matter, I could turn it this way. I'm just going to have it this way, put it on the long edge. And then I want to slide this one, so making sure that I'm keeping the bottom one held firmly in place. And with the top one, I'm going to slide it along until it gets to this point. And when it gets to this point, I should be able to connect that up like that. And now I've got a line here that is parallel here, and we can actually see the rough shape of our M. So at this point now, with that done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed up the video and heavy in the last bits of their M. So there we have it, folks. That there is the EMI Music Publishing logo completed. And the hardest part in that question was obviously getting the incline lines, and we used a different method there now, whereby we used the incline lines and we got them by doing sliding set squares. And just recognising, obviously, once we had this line here, we could do a parallel line by using sliding set squares. Hope you found it helpful, guys. That is that question completed.